automallUSA.com.
Are you paying too much for term life insurance? Now, through Matrix Direct, a 35-year-old man could get $100,000 term life coverage for less than $10 a month. Guaranteed for 10 years from a top insurer, Transamerica. A 45-year-old man could get $100,000 term life coverage for less than $15 a month. Call for a fast free quote over the phone. Matrix Direct, 1-800-725-5728.
The Moneyline News Hour, weeknight 6:30 Eastern. You are what you know.
Tonight, clearing out ahead of Hurricane Floyd, the largest peacetime evacuation in U.S. history is happening right now. With their home state of Georgia facing the storm's fury, Jimmy and Rosalyn Carter will join us to talk about disaster relief and a lot more. With us in Washington, the director of the Federal Emergency Management Agency, James Lee Witt. And CNN's Jeff Flock reports from an evacuation shelter in Jacksonville, Florida. That and a lot more next on Larry King Live. The Carters will be joining us in a little while. They were originally scheduled to discuss his 75th birthday, which, by the way, comes in a couple of weeks. We'll touch on that, but he's a veteran of things like this, so when he joins us, we'll discuss this storm, which is, of course, the story of the night. We begin with James Lee Witt, the director of the Federal Emergency Management Agency. What's your role in this?
Well, of course, Larry, we coordinate all the 27 federal agencies that are in the Federal Response Plan in support of the state and local government and provide them the resources to meet that immediate need after a storm like this passes through.
Do you make the decision on things like evacuation, move these people out, or do you leave that up to local areas?
That's all left up to the local government and the state, and the National Hurricane Center plays a very, very important role in this by giving the hurricane watch and warnings, because that way the locals know when to evacuate, know how many hours they have to evacuate.
Have you seen one like this?
Larry, I have not seen one of this size. It's a very large storm. It's almost 600 miles across. It's very similar to the size of Hurricane Hugo.
Now, Andrew was a much smaller storm in size, right? I mean, it packed powerful winds, but not near as wide an area.
It wasn't, Larry. This storm is about 3 times larger than Hurricane Andrew across the width of the storm. It's about the same strength, Category 4, maybe a little stronger, but it's about the same as Hurricane Hugo when it hit Charleston.
With all this evacuation, Jim, how set up are shelters? I mean, you got lots of people leaving beach areas, going over to mainland areas. What's there for them?
Well, of course, Larry, the most important thing is that the state of Florida and Georgia and South Carolina and North Carolina all have good evacuation plans in place. They also have shelters marked, and we exercise these plans constantly, as well as the states, and they have people to staff these shelters. American Red Cross works very close with the state in manning these shelters and taking care of people. But this is the largest evacuation that's ever been done in the face of a hurricane.
What can you do when something is mandatory? Can you forcibly remove people, Jim?
No, not really. You know, if there's people that wants to stay, Larry, then they make that decision and they stay. But, you know, we encourage people not to do that, because we can always replace that home or that building, but, you know, we can't replace that life.
How far in advance did you see this coming? I mean, it seems almost to us like Floyd just suddenly appeared. When did Floyd come up in your eyes?
Well, of course, we've been watching this when it came off the African coast with the National Hurricane Center, and of course, this time of year, we're all very nervous about the storms that come off of Africa, and we track these and depressions when they come off, and the National Hurricane Center works with us very closely and keeps us well informed.
All right, James, you stay right there. We are now going to go to the National Hurricane Center. I lived 20 years in Miami. I'm very familiar with that spot. Max Mayfield is Deputy Director at the National Hurricane Center. Are you still near the University of Miami, Max?
Actually, Larry, we moved over on the campus of Florida International University now. We're in a real bunker. We can thank Bob Sheets, our former director, for this. It's a very secure building.
I remember you're at the U of M at the Gables.
That's right. Then we moved actually across the street there in the Gables, and in 1995 we moved to the new facility.
Now, you are the National Center, which means what?
Well, the National Hurricane Center has responsibility for all the hurricanes and tropical storms in the Atlantic, Caribbean, Gulf of Mexico, and the Eastern Pacific. And then our forecast office in Honolulu handles the Central Pacific hurricanes.
And do you keep in touch with people like Mr. Witt?
James Lee and I have talked several times here over the last few years, yes.
All right, now where do you rate this among the hurricanes you've covered over the years?
Well, this is very similar to Hurricane Hugo, and we really want people up in the Carolinas to understand this. In fact, the intensity right now, we just had an aircraft report a few minutes ago. The maximum sustained winds are still 140 miles per hour. That's how strong Hugo was when it struck South Carolina in 1989. This is also very similar in size to Hugo. Hugo is an extremely large hurricane. This one is as well. You can see on the satellite imagery behind me here, the tropical storm force winds extend out about 200 to 250 miles away from that center. So that's going to cut down on some of the preparation time people have up there in the Carolinas.
How do we know it's going to keep moving on this traffic? Could it turn and just go west? Could it go east and go out to sea? How do we know where it's going?
Well, we're doing everything we can to make the best forecast possible. NOAA has a jet aircraft. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric has a jet airplane out there right now, along with one of the P3 planes. They're flying a synoptic mission in the environment around the hurricane to try to initialize the computer models that we'll be able to look at tomorrow morning. We've done this for the last several nights. You can't expect miracles from the computer models if you don't have good data to put into them, and we're really making a real effort here to, with a lot of people involved, to do the best we can. The Air Force is flying in the core of the hurricane to give us that information in the center, in the eye itself.
Well, what we're seeing now is how accurate, well, that's a kind of computerized version on that map. Is that pinpoint accurate or semi-accurate?
Well, this is a satellite loop. This is, you know, the observation that we're looking at right here now. We are making the projections based on the different computer models that we look at, and we're very convinced that the trough coming into the eastern United States will turn this up more towards the north and eventually northeast. This is what we're forecasting about this time tomorrow night. The center of the hurricane should be approaching the South Carolina coast. The red area that you see here represents the area of hurricane force winds. The blue area represents the area of tropical storm force winds. So the main thing people need to know up there in the Carolinas is that these storm force winds extend out so far from the center of this hurricane that they really need to go ahead and make their preparations. We have a hurricane warning in place now all the way up through Georgia and South Carolina. We have a hurricane watch in place for North Carolina. We expect to upgrade that to a hurricane warning sometime tonight.
Does that mean, therefore, Max, that Florida got lucky?
It looks like Florida got very lucky. Now, they're still going to get the fringe of this hurricane, and will likely get some hurricane force winds along the immediate coastline. But that core of the hurricane, the donut around the eye where the really strong Category 4 winds are capable of causing extreme damage, it looks like that core will remain off the Florida coast.
So the biggest danger right now, as you project, is Georgia and the Carolinas, right?
The biggest danger is really headed up toward Georgia and the Carolinas, primarily the Carolinas, and we really need, if we have time, to talk about the hazards. The storm surge certainly has the greatest potential for loss of life. In Hurricane Hugo, we had 15 to 20 feet of storm surge with that hurricane. We've also learned that a hurricane is not just a coastal event. Hurricane this strong and this large will spread the strong winds and the heavy rains inland along the path of the hurricane as well. And if you actually look back over the last 30 years, you'll find that we had a very significant loss of life from the inland flooding.
Yeah. There's a lot of after things that occur that people don't think about. It's not just that map.
That's right, and you don't want to focus on that little point either. A lot of people are trying to do that. This is such a large hurricane. You can just see from the satellite picture there that it's going to affect a very large area, and will the impact will be felt all the way from Florida all the way up through the Carolinas here and beyond that even.
Thank you, Max.
Thank you.
Max Mayfield, he'll be there around the clock. They always are at the National Hurricane Center. James Lee Witt remains. When we come back, the former president and former first lady of the United States. They've seen their share of these. Don't go away.
higher you set the bar for children, the better they do. So teachers are expecting more of kids and themselves. Public schools are working with parents to raise standards. Reading and math skills are up. Dropout rates are down. And more kids are going on to college. But we've got more to do, like restoring discipline and smaller classes. 90% of our kids go to public schools, so we need to support them because we're accountable for the future.
When you want to stand out, nothing demands attention like posted flags. Posted flags help you sort, file, organize, circulate, edit, document, and highlight what's important. Stand out with posted flags.
The computers become a stage for the entire planet. Better get a good seat. Hayworth, furniture for what's next.
The great thing about investing responsibly is it can work. Yeah, I've found first-generation Americans that put money aside for the kids to go to college. I see people that are in retirement. Others have invested their inheritance with us. When you come to Fidelity.com, you can get the tools to make you a more responsible investor. The discipline, the research analysis, the sense of responsibility will not change. Those are Fidelity principles.
Millions of Americans have invested responsibly with Fidelity. We can help you do the same.
With us in Washington remaining is James Lee Witt, Director of FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency. Joining us now from Atlanta is President Jimmy Carter, the former President of the United States, and Rosalyn Carter, the former First Lady. President Carter will turn 75 years old on October 1st. He'll be back with us in a couple of weeks to discuss a new book. We'll do more celebrating at that time. No one planned on this emergency. It's hard to believe that Jimmy Carter is going to be 75. And in Jacksonville, Florida, CNN's venerable correspondent, always on duty in times like this, is Jeff Flock. President Carter, what does a president do when something like this is hitting? Does he keep in touch with people like Mr. Witt? What is a good bet that what President Clinton is doing now?
Well, Larry, when I was elected, there were 27 different agencies that dealt with emergencies like this. And one of the major undertakings that I assumed when I went to the White House was to bring all 27 of those agencies together in what's now known as FEMA, which James Lee Witt now heads up. So I think the coordination of efforts by every federal agency in an emergency like this is one of the key things that the government can do. And I think FEMA has been extraordinarily successful since those years, about 20 years back, in dealing with both unanticipated tragedies and also predictions that now can be making place in the hurricanes.
And the president keeps in touch with FEMA and the agencies, or just FEMA?
Well, I think nowadays the president probably just deals with FEMA. There's no need for him to deal with all the other agencies that are involved. That was transportation, HEW, welfare, everything that dealt with problems that occurred in the hurricane. The president used to have to deal with them individually. Now, of course, there's just one agency that deals with all of those. The president deals with FEMA. James, I guess you're happy that Mr. Carter put that through, right? That was a good idea.
It was a great idea, Larry. Actually, President Carter signed an executive order on April the 1st of 1979 creating FEMA as the coordinating agency for the Federal Response Plan in 27 federal agencies. And I can tell you it's a great team and it works extremely well.
Rosalyn, are you worried about your state? Georgia's in the line of this.
Yes, I'm worried about the coast, and I have a lot of friends there. I was talking with some of them today, and they're very concerned about the hurricane.
Is your area pretty much safe inland where you're located, Rosalyn?
I think so. We might get some rain and maybe some wind, but we're far enough to the west of the state that I don't think that we'll get a lot of the effects of the hurricane.
Jeff Flock in Jackson. Well, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Rosalyn.
One thing I'm really pleased about is that when Elizabeth Dole headed the Red Cross, she set up a program for mental health workers to work with the people who are involved during the stress of an event like this, of a tragedy, and also afterwards to help people get over the effects when they lose homes and lose family members and so forth. So that's one good thing, another good thing that's been happening.
So a lot's changed, President Carter, in the years since, but certainly I think everybody would agree FEMA works.
Well, it works. The first hurricane I ever went through, and the worst one I've ever been to the core of, was my first 3 months as a submarine officer. And we had to spend most of the time on the surface. It was in the Pacific. 7 different ships sank. Our ship was, our submarine was very badly damaged, and it was reported to have sunk. And we finally had to go up to Midway Island to broadcast a message that we were indeed still on the surface, because they'd already put out messages to all the wives and others to look out for floating debris from the USS Pomfret. So I know what a bad hurricane can be at sea. Luckily, planes has only suffered, or that area has only suffered from tornadoes, which obviously in a small area are just as severe as a hurricane.
When we come back, we'll check in with Jeff Flock in Jacksonville. And by the way, any one of the guests can ask questions of any of the other guests as well. We'll be right back.
The AIM Investor Pop Quiz. You've got a long retirement ahead. You should learn to live on $100 a week. Move in with your kids. Take a swim. Invest for the long term. Invest with discipline. AIM Mutual Funds.
If you know Wall Street, Donaldson, Lufkin, and Jenrette needs no introduction. For 40 years, we've helped investors make wise decisions. So how do you gain access?
You log on to DLJ Direct, the serious online brokerage designed for people who take their money seriously. DLJ Direct will change your expectations of online brokers. We're staking our reputation on it.
Search. Find it right now. TheBigHub.com.
Ditech.com puts extra cash in your pocket with their new 125% second mortgage with 0 points.
Use our second mortgage to consolidate bills. Pay college tuition. Give your daughter that wedding she's always wanted.
A 125% loan means you can borrow more than the value of your home. And 0 points means you'll save a lot of money on closing costs.
That's up to $150,000 in your pocket.
Log on to Ditech.com or call 1-800-71-FIXED.
The AIM Investor Pop Quiz. The road to retirement should be paved with lottery tickets, pork belly futures, lots of vacations. Invest for the long term. Call your financial consultant about AIM Mutual Funds.
Hurricane Floyd lashes the Bahamas and continues toward the U.S. coast. Orlando area theme parks close, and millions evacuate coastal communities. Stay with CNN for continuous coverage and live reports.
We'll go back to the Carters and to Mr. Witt in just a moment, but let's get down to Jacksonville, Florida, where Jeff Flock of CNN is standing by. According to Max Mayfield of the National Hurricane Center, Jeff, Florida got lucky, right?
Good news here, although a lot of people obviously have taken the precaution of coming here to the shelter, not wanting to take any chances, Larry.
What's the story right in Jacksonville, at the northeasternmost corner of the state?
Yeah, at this shelter, maybe you see it's kind of bursting at the seams. They expected about 1,000 people here. There are about 1,300 that showed up. They don't want any more folks here. A lot of people taking this storm very, very seriously.
Now, they came where, Jeff? Mostly Jacksonville Beach?
Yeah, from the nearby areas. We've got one family here, the Comberg family. Lori, tell me, where'd you come from and why?
We came from East Arlington. We're not technically at the beaches, but we live across the street from the St. Johns River. So we were afraid that we were in danger of flooding.
You scared?
No, not really, but I figured it was safest for the kids to bring them here to the shelter. And with the heavy winds coming up, and you just didn't really know where the hurricane was going to make landfall, or if it's going to even make landfall in this area. But we could get 60-mile-an-hour winds, but we could get up to 120, 130-mile-an-hour winds. So my house could definitely make, I'd say probably 100, 120 miles. But then again, if it's a little bit more, a little less, you just couldn't be certain. So
I have to ask 3-year-old Elizabeth, are you scared by the hurricane?
Yeah,
Why? Why are you scared?
because I want to be sad.
Because you want to be scared. Well, that's a good reason, Larry.
Hey, Jeff, will they stay the night?
I think so. You guys are going to stay the night, yeah?
We brought blankets and jammies for the children, so we'll be camping out. It's a big adventure for them. Much better than being scared.
Big adventure for a lot of people. Larry?
What's the weather outside in Jacksonville now, Jeff?
It's starting to kick a little. We had one band come through, you know how they come through, and we're starting to get the first of the bands here. And by tomorrow morning, they say things should be interesting.
How do they treat 1,300 people? They have food and everything, and preserves and beds. How do they set that up?
I'm going to ask Lori. This is a middle school, right? And Lori teaches at the middle school. How do you put this all together?
They served us just like they do lunch to 1,900 children every day. We had the same pizza, the same peaches, the same salad and dressing.
And food is what she's saying.
When you're in a situation like this, it's delicious food.
There you go.
Thanks, Jeff. We'll check back with Jeff Flock later at the shelter in Jacksonville. We'll also be checking in with Charles Ziwi up the coast in Charleston. And John Zarella down a little bit at Cape Canaveral. Back with the Carters and James Lee Witt right after this.
With technology unavailable in any other SUV, just how smooth is the ride of the new Land Rover? The new Land Rover. Technology you'll be comfortable with.
Your Land Rover retailer has something else you'll be comfortable with. Great lease rates on a Discovery.
I have 48 employees. I have an 8-member management committee. I also have 3 5-year-old sons. I don't need someone else raising questions. I need someone who can give me answers.
At Lincoln Financial Group, you tell us your goals, your situation, and your concerns. We'll provide clear, understandable solutions to help you manage your finances. Lincoln Financial Group, clear solutions in a complex world.
They're the largest creatures on Earth. They've adapted and evolved with strength and determination. The kind of strength that helps the Pacific Life family of companies manage more than $300 billion for its clients. And determination that has guided Pacific Life for 130 years. Size, strength, longevity, offering annuities, insurance, and investments. Use the power of Pacific Life.
We go back to President Carter and Mrs. Carter there in Atlanta, and James Lee Witt is in Washington. President Carter, the homes you built in Florida stood up during Andrew, did they not? I don't think anyone went down.
That's right. We built 27 homes, Larry, and when the hurricane had passed, on some blocks, every house on the entire block was gone except ours. So we were very proud of that. Some people said that our workers were so afraid we put 2 or 3 nails extra every time we did, but one thing we don't do is cut short on regulations. We made sure that the roofs were attached to the walls. We didn't bribe any inspectors to let us by with shortcuts, and we were very proud when that happened.
Are all your homes built to those specifications wherever you build?
Absolutely. We just, even in the Philippines, we just finished building 293 homes in the Philippines in just 1 week. And they are just really solid, and we built by high standards that are preserved in America, even when we're overseas. So with volunteers, you know, they go there with their hearts on their sleeves, wanting to help people, and we don't want to leave behind an inferior product.
James Lee Witt, and I gather you've been in touch with President Clinton, and we understand that the president's coming right back from the South Pacific, not stopping in Hawaii as planned, right?
That's right, Larry. I talked to President Clinton yesterday, and I talked to him today about 5 o'clock, him and the Vice President at the same time, and then also briefed the Vice President at the White House this afternoon. And the Vice President Gore actually called in to our conference call this afternoon. And let me just say, President Carter, about Habitat for Humanity and the houses they built. About 2 weeks ago, I met with the Habitat for Humanity And we're going to be working with them from their regional offices and ours in making sure that safe rooms in tornado risk areas, and also that they're part of as a full partner in Project Impact in disaster prevention across the United States.
We appreciate that.
Do you two know each other?
I have never met President Carter, but I would love to help him build a house for Habitat for Humanity sometime.
Are you volunteering, James?
Absolutely.
We'll call on you, man.
Rosalind, you mentioned mental health. That's a thing not often discussed with things like this, but it does leave its mark, does it not? Let's say you lose a house.
Absolutely.
You've got a psychological problem to deal with here.
That's right. And people lose family members sometimes, and all of their possessions. Flooding can be devastating too. A few years ago in Plains, we had 23 inches of rain in 24 hours. And I think there were 25 or 28 people who died in that flood. And people were devastated afterwards because their homes were gone there. If they were still standing, everything in them was ruined. And so there are all kinds of post-traumatic stress after these kinds of tragedies, and people really need care. And one of the important things in post-traumatic stress is that if they don't get help very soon after the tragedy, then it's very hard for them to get over.
And I know, Mr. President, you are a lay preacher as well. Don't people, when things like this occur, question their faith?
Larry, I think the best response to that would be that people turn more to their faith and know that there are more important things in life even than a house, that particularly those who survive, and we're talking about people that do survive, and when they look around them and see their possessions are gone, but they still have their children and their wife and so forth, and they have a chance to rebuild their lives. I think in times of stress and torment, more often people tend to turn to God if their faith is sound at the beginning.
Do you concur, Rosalind, with that?
Yes, I think so. I think maybe in the beginning you think, why did God let this happen? I've thought that sometimes. But I think when it really comes down to it, the family is the most important thing in people's lives, and if the family survives, they're just thankful to God for that.
James Witt, before you leave us, how quick does money get to when a president or a governor declares disaster? How quick does the wheels go in motion?
Very fast, Larry. We now can process. We've got everything streamlined and computerized with the technology for today, and we actually can process, inspect, and have checks in the mail in about 7 days. But let me follow up with what President Carter said and Mrs. Carter said about crisis counseling, that is so critical after a disaster, and American Red Cross and FEMA as well fund and help with crisis counseling. It's really important. But something else today, we've got an email message on our FEMA for Kids webpage. And a young child had wrote us an email message that she was very scared, and she was scared she was going to die. And we sent our email message back, and no one had talked to her about this hurricane. And it's very important that the parents tell their children what's going on and why they're evacuating, why it's important, and talk to them to calm their fears.
We're very happy, James Lee, that we were the program that got you to meet President Carter. He started the agency you now head, and you now volunteer for Habitat. We're very glad we can make that happen.
Thank you.
I could tell just from the way you look at it, you admire our ex-president a great deal.
Absolutely. I voted for him.
Thanks, James. James Lee Witt, the Director of Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, an agency that began in the administration of Jimmy Carter. The Carters will remain with us. We'll do some more checks on the hurricane and then talk to them quite a bit in our next half hour. It's all ahead on Larry King Live. Don't go away.
This is a monster storm. It is large, it is ferocious, and it's scary. So we're taking it very seriously, and we're very, very confident that the state has done everything we can to be prepared.
Weeknights, the most responsive and immediate news magazine on television. Newsday, weeknights, 10 Eastern, on CNN.
I remember it like it was yesterday. I was hosting my first big business dinner, and I paid with my Visa card. Turns out I was over my limit. I was so embarrassed, I didn't know what to do. So I got the American Express card, and it never happened again.
Call 1-800-THE-CARD. We can take your application right over the phone.
Applying for the card was one of the easiest things I've ever done, and smartest. And anyone who's ever gone anywhere knows it. I have a place to cash checks, get my mail, and get help when I need it.
My dad said the minute you get a job, get an American Express card. He said, trust me on this one. I've gone everywhere with it. And here's a tip. Sign up for membership rewards, and everything you charge on the card will earn you program points, so you can keep on traveling.
So call now for the American Express card. You can apply right over the phone.
It helped not having a preset limit.
It's great getting points every time you use the card.
I can call 24 hours a day. That helps.
No matter what you do or where you go, the American Express card can help you do more.
Early Edition with Carol Lynn and Leon Harris. Weekdays on CNN.
We're back on Larry King Live. On October 1st, he will be 75 years young. Former President Jimmy Carter and his wife Rosalyn are joining us from Atlanta. We'll be back with them momentarily, and they'll be with us up through the top of the hour. Jimmy will be back with us in a couple of weeks as well when a new book comes out. It's hard to believe he is 75. Joining us now in Titusville, Florida, is John Zarella. John is, as you can tell, are you on the beach, John?
No, actually, we're just across the waterway from the Kennedy Space Center. That's the Indian River Lagoon behind me. You can't see that, but in the distance, see those little lights out there. That's the vehicle assembly building of the Kennedy Space Center, Larry.
And was it correct that there were spacecraft in trouble here? Had that hurricane hit where you are?
Oh, absolutely. There's very, very serious concern. This was expected to be maybe ground zero. At the very least, they expected that the eye wall could come over the Kennedy Space Center area. And, of course, that's where the 140, 150-mile-an-hour winds are in this storm. And the space shuttles, the $2 billion NASA space shuttles, are sitting in buildings that are called orbiter processing facilities back here, and they're wind loaded to about 120 miles an hour, so there might have been some serious problems there. And even more significant, Larry, down the coast a ways at the Canaveral Air Force Station, there are 4 rockets sitting on launch pads, 2 commercial vehicles and 2 military vehicles, satellites apparently to be put in space. They could not get them off the pads, and they're only wind loaded to 105 miles an hour. So very serious concerns here, Larry.
Is what you're getting now as bad as it's going to be, or do you expect worse?
They say that if that eye wall wobbles just a little closer to the coast, we could potentially get some hurricane force winds here overnight hours into the early morning. If not, a little bit worse than this, some tropical storm force winds. We had one squall line move through earlier, but certainly not expected to be anywhere near as bad as they had thought less than 24 hours ago. Larry?
So in all tragedies, there is luck, and some people are unlucky, and life isn't fair, as Kennedy once said. Florida got lucky tonight.
Boy, all the way from South Florida down in the Miami area. You know, we were down there earlier today. There wasn't a lot of places that were boarded up. A lot of people did not board up down south. They were banking on that turn. Fortunately, it turned. Fortunately, it's continued to turn, staying offshore a little further than they thought. So, yeah, Larry, unlike Andrew 7 years ago when we were very unlucky down here, got extremely lucky this time around. Larry?
Thank you, John. John Zarella on the scene in Titusville. Now to the CNN Center in Atlanta, where Flip Spiceland, our meteorologist, is standing by. I saw you early this morning, and you said there was a chance that Florida would miss this.
Yeah, that Florida would miss this.
What did you know?
I would just listen to the National Hurricane Center. They've been telling us all along that was the case, and they didn't even have enough faith in themselves. It was that old, but what if we're wrong by just a little bit? Then the eye moves on shore. You can clearly see the eye here reaching out of the Bahamas now. But one thing I wanted to point out, Larry, if you notice this here, look at the size of the eye and look at the size of Lake Okeechobee. The eye on this storm is bigger than Lake Okeechobee. You can also clearly see the northwesterly movement here. Now, I want to give you the boring statistics because there still are a lot of people that are plotting this map. And then I want to show you, since you keep talking about how lucky Florida got, let me show you something. Don't roll the dice a second time. First of all, this is the watch warning map. You can see the hurricane warnings are still in effect along the Florida coast. And let me show you this track, the most recent projected path from the National Hurricane Center. Now, John Zarella is standing right there. Now watch what happens, and then it turns to the north before it comes on shore. So I said don't roll the dice again. You're lucky right now, but boy, if that's off just a little bit, the eye wall, as John pointed out, could still brush right along the coast right there. The good news is it's already made that north-northwesterly turn, and that's what everybody's been waiting for with bated breath. Larry?
So the people in trouble are in Savannah,
Charleston, that area of Beaufort, South Carolina. Although, we must point out that with it coming so close and being such a big hurricane, you could have hurricane-force winds rake the coast in a large area. This is, what I'm trying to say is this is far from sounding an all clear in this area just because we tell you that the center is not going to move through the region. That's the reason that the National Hurricane Center has left the hurricane warning in effect for such a very large area.
Were they smart to evacuate in South Florida in retrospect?
In South Florida, probably it was a smart thing to do because the problem was it was so close before it made the turn that if you were wrong and it did go into South Florida, it was always predicted to turn to the north, but if that was wrong, you wouldn't have had time to have evacuated in South Florida. So it's that old better safe than sorry, and that's what Jerry Jarrell was saying at the Hurricane Center yesterday.
And so your read now is what, Flip?
Somewhere about the South Carolina-Georgia border. Somewhere in here between Savannah and Charleston would be the best guess for the eye wall moving on shore. But I fully believe we're going to see some hurricane-force winds here somewhere along the coast, North Florida and Georgia, too.
And what kind of winds could hit that coast?
Close to 70 miles an hour. We've already had wind gusts along the Florida coast of close to 40 miles an hour, and it's still over 200 miles away from Cape Canaveral. So I think
if
close
it
to
hits
70 miles an hour.
If it hits at full force, will you have a Code 4 hurricane on land?
It would probably weaken for, I don't know the answer to that question. If it stays at the strength that it is right now, as it moves up the coast, yes. If it weakens because of its interaction with the landmass here as it's riding along the beach, then we will not have a Category 4 storm. We have had storms. Go ahead.
Well, I'm sorry. We've had storms Code 4 hit?
We've had storms that were Category 4 in the Bahamas, and by the time they hit land in the U.S., they were down to a Category 1.
And one other thing, what happened in the Bahamas?
Bad stuff. I mean, obviously phone lines are down and we don't know, but we are picking up ham radio reports that roofs have been ripped off and that automobiles have been blown around. Not a lot of rain, and that's because it's moving very, very quickly, but I just noticed that in Florida they're issuing their first flood watches and they're expecting anywhere from 5 to 10 inches of rainfall.
Thanks, Flip, as always, right on top of things. We'll come back with the Carters and talk about lots of things right after this.
High roads of the future.
I will have been married to Ronnie for 47 years. When you marry, you make a commitment that should be taken seriously. Love and obey and honor in sickness and in health. And for me, it was never a problem. I was committed to Ronnie right away.
We've got 52 and a half years now.
The secret to our long relationship, I think, is that we have a mutual respect for each other. and we just kind of like each other.
And another thing I've learned over a period of years is that when we have an argument, just to admit that she's right and I'm wrong. And that perpetuates the marriage, you know.
We've been happily married for over 50 years, and I think it's based primarily on faith and confidence in one another.
I believe in compromise, which means that you both have to be willing to give a little bit. And I've always said in a marriage, just expect to give 90% and receive 10. And if you each do that, then you're bound to make it.
This Voices of the Millennium is presented by Lincoln, American Luxury.
adrenaline. The new Lincoln LS.
Car's all packed. Wow. Guess this is it.
College. We're proud of you.
Oh, thanks, Dad.
We want you to have this.
What? Dad?
You're gonna need it.
In here, Alex.
Mom, the microwave?
Well, sweetie, you have to eat.
Take the TV.
Oh, come on.
Let's go.
Cool. Okay, Mom.
Call us. Bye.
Why'd you guys give them all our stuff?
Look! Ta-da!
Yes!
It's time to bring a little fun to life.
Oh, I bet your brother wishes he was here to help.
Best Buy.
Oh, I'm in a better mood already. To me and the R&D team at International Paper, looks are just as important as content. So when an ice cream carton maker came to us for help, we created a container that's strong enough to make it from the dairy to your home. And the printing surface makes the ice cream look as good as it tastes.
Now remember, Daddy, save room for dinner.
How can we help your product look better? International Paper. From innovation to results.
In today's fast-paced world, life is an adventure. With all of your commitments, you can't find the time to analyze and research your investments. At Oldie, we understand and can help with a rare combination of services. Investment advice, commission savings, plus original research from our own analysts to give you more time for the next adventure life throws your way. Capitalize on advice and savings. Call Oldie today.
We'll rejoin the Carters in a moment. We thank them for their patience. This was scheduled to be a full hour with them. Jimmy will be with us in a couple of weeks. We are, in advance, celebrating his 75th birthday. But first, we want to check in with one more correspondent. That's Charles Ziwi on the scene in Charleston, South Carolina. If Florida got lucky, Charles, South Carolina may not, right?
That's right, Larry. The computer-generated projections show that Hurricane Floyd will very likely come right over the top of Charleston. Those models could change, as Flip and any other forecaster will tell you, particularly the National Hurricane Center. But right now, sometime before dawn Thursday, they expect that Floyd, at its 140-mile-an-hour winds, will cut across Kiowa Island to the southeast of where I'm standing right now in the Folly Beach area, and then come directly over the city of Charleston, putting 138 to 140-mile-an-hour winds over this area and taking Charleston Harbor and washing it over this seawall right here and up to the sides of these large houses which are boarded up right now. These are some of the very distinctive, very historic homes here in Charleston, nationally renowned.
Are you going to stay through this, or when do you have to get out?
Well, Larry, we're going to try to stay through this. We're in a old place called the Planters Inn, which has 2-foot thick walls. And so we're going to try to ride this out in downtown Charleston. They say they didn't take any water during Hugo, but a lot of other people who were here during Hugo, including me. I was here 10 years ago this month inside the Emergency Operations Center for Hugo when the storm howled over and the roof started to come off the Emergency Operations Center, and we had to evacuate when the eye came over to another building. A lot of people worry tonight that history may be about to repeat itself. About 850,000 people so far have moved off the coastline, according to South Carolina officials, and they're telling everybody who lives in the low country of South Carolina to get out and get out now.
I remember that night very well when you reported on this program. Are you worried, Charles, personally worried?
Well, you know, I think anybody who comes up against a storm like this has to be concerned, and it's really foolhardy to think that you can't get hurt or injured in a storm like this, and I think there's a healthy respect on my part and a lot of other people for storms like this. Storms like we had last week before Hurricane Dennis, 75-mile-an-hour, 80-mile-an-hour winds when it came ashore are no big deal, really, although they can spin off tornadoes. This is a different thing. Yeah. The angle of this storm coming into the coast is almost the same as Hugo, not quite the same. Hugo came in to the coastline north of here along the Isle of Pines, did a tremendous amount of damage because it almost smacked the coastline perpendicular to the coast. This storm is projected right now, and again, we underscore that this could change. The storm is projected to come in on an angle, but that nonetheless, if those projections hold true, will put a tremendous amount of water up against the coast and into Charleston Harbor and perhaps into the Battery area of Charleston where we are right now.
Hang tough, Charles. CNN will be checking in with Charles Ziwi, of course, around the clock. And now we return to Atlanta and the Carters on the forthcoming occasion of his 75th birthday. By the way, Mr. President, we have a special message for you. Watch.
Mr. President, Hillary and I join all Americans in wishing you a very happy 75th birthday. From building homes to building peace, You spent a lifetime making our nation and our world better. As president, you put America's commitments to human rights squarely at the heart of our foreign policy and helped nations in the Middle East, Asia, and Africa learn to live in peace. As a private citizen, you've continued those efforts through the Carter Center. And now, in no small part because of your efforts, more than half the world's people live in freedom. Mr. President, by doing justice, by loving mercy, by walking humbly with your God, you have inspired goodness in the hearts and lives of others in our country and all around the world. I thank you for your friendship to me and to Hillary. And I thank you for your continued efforts to make the world a better place. Happy birthday, Jimmy.
That was nice, and congratulations to both of you on those Freedom Medals. That was a wonderful occasion.
It was.
I know that must have made you feel pretty good.
Well, that was beautiful, it was. We've spent a lot of time this year, Larry, in elections overseas, as he mentioned. We had been to Indonesia twice. We did the election in Indonesia from the Carter Center, and we had a large delegation in East Timor. Right up until Sunday before last. We were there for the registration of voters. We were there for the referendum, which was overwhelmingly good.
Did you expect what happened to happen?
No, we didn't, although we had warned President Habibie and warned our own government that this might very well happen, because the fact is that the military made it very plain to us, the ones we met with, that the overwhelming portion of them did not want to see East Timor become independent. But the violence that took place in the capital there and the expulsion of now about 150,000 people from East Timor was something that I don't believe anybody did anticipate.
Do you feel 75?
No, I feel really good. You know, we got up this morning and ran 3 miles. We went to the U.S. Open tennis tournament. We ran 4 miles in the morning in New York. We play tennis ourselves. We climb mountains. We go downhill skiing. So far, we've been really blessed with good health and still feel young.
Rosalyn, does it feel like he's 75 already? You're married, what, 52, 53 years?
53 years.
He was just a little boy.
I can't believe he's that old. I can't believe that I'm as old as I am. I thought 75 was really old until Jimmy became 75.
We'll be back with more of the Carters. He's going to be 75. It happens to us all, hopefully. It's better than the alternative. Don't go away.
And I'm unable to get out of my mind the pictures in my head from 1992 when Hurricane Andrew was so devastating. And I don't know if any of you would have been with us then, but I remember when we went down and toured the devastation and met with people who were doing the hurricane relief efforts. And I know that, you know, FEMA and the White House, everybody's prepared to do whatever it will take, but it's something we're all concerned about.
Responsibilities. Doesn't mean you have to drive around with them. Monsoon audio systems in the Volkswagen Jetta drive drenched in sound.
If you're smart about investing, you know it's not about the trade. It's about what you do before the trade. That's why Donaldson, Lufkin, and Ginrett has put its insights and information online with DLJ Direct, so you can make decisions using the exclusive resources of an investment bank. And DLJ Direct is the first online broker to bring you real-time news from Dow Jones Newswires. Smarter research can lead to smarter choices. Donaldson, Lufkin, and Ginrett, putting our reputation online.
Posted pop-up notes pop up one at a time from the new dispenser. Now you'll always know where your Post-it notes are. So you won't go nuts looking for nuts. Post-it pop-up notes. What did you ever do without them? Another 3M innovation.
Hey, guys are not quiet about sports. But when it comes to prostate health, here are the facts. If you're over 40, testosterone levels can start to drop, and that impacts urinary and prostate health. Prostatonin is a new natural supplement proven to safely help maintain prostate health to avoid too many trips to the men's room. Now that's worth making some noise about. Take Prostatonin. It's a guy thing.
We're back with the Carters. Don't forget CNN Newsstand at the top of the hour. Continuous coverage around the clock of Hurricane Floyd. Touching a couple of other bases, I know President Carter, you among others, led the request to free those Puerto Ricans after those years in jail. Any second thoughts about that?
No, not at all, Larry. As a matter of fact, I never wrote directly to President Clinton, but I did write 2 letters a couple of years ago to the Attorney General. And I asked that she consider recommending that they be released if they hadn't been guilty of any crime of violence. And I think that President Clinton made the right decision.
Rosalyn, did you concur?
Yes, I did. They've been in prison for a very long time, and as Jimmy said, they didn't commit any acts of violence, and I think it was the right thing to do.
Were you surprised, President Carter, at the political uproar that occurred?
I'm not ever surprised at whatever political uproar arises. The answer is, I think it's been a little bit more than I thought. The thing that did surprise me is the fact that in the Congress, only 41 Democrats voted to support the president's decision. And one of the things that makes it interesting is that he's been very rare in the granting of pardons.
Very rare.
The particular pardon that I have been pursuing for the last 6 or 7 or even more years is Patty Hearst. You know, as everybody remembers her, who's at least at my age, she has led a model life. She married one of her security guards. She's got 3 little kids. She's been a perfect American citizen. I commuted her sentence so she could get out of jail, but I would like to see her get a pardon. But those things come and go. The president has this unilateral right under the Constitution to pardon, and no one can contradict that final decision that's made in the White House. So I think he did the right thing.
Rosalyn, what do you think of Hillary running for the Senate?
I think if that's what she wants to do, it's great. And I think she's probably enjoying the listening to her right now.
Did you ever have such desire?
No. When we came home, some people suggested that I might want to run for the Senate from Georgia, and some people asked me to run for governor. What would I have done in Plains, Georgia, in Washington with Jimmy in Plains, Georgia? I didn't ever consider it. In fact, I didn't want to do it.
We'll be back with our remaining moments with 2 American treasures, the Carters, after this.
I'm often asked how I would like our years in the White House to be remembered, and I always say, well, we told the truth, and we obeyed the law, and we kept the peace. And I think we did. And that's because of your leadership. I'll always be honored by that opportunity to serve with you and with Rosalyn. So, Mr. President, happy birthday.
Good morning, it's 6 a.m. Come on, your meeting's in 2 hours.
Comfort Inn knows the business traveler.
I've been thinking. Kill the slides. Just talk to him.
Remember, enunciate. Take deep breaths. Our complimentary breakfast saves you time and money.
You the man.
Our guest privileges frequency program earns you free nights fast. And we serve business travelers in over 1,500 locations worldwide.
You did it again. I love my job.
It's more than a room. It's comfort.
I told my architect we wanted a place that reflects the direction our business is heading. Could she design a space where ideas can't help but collide, where the techie and the dreamer both feel at home, and work is what you escape to, not from. Bottom line, we consider this place our secret weapon.
When you want an architect to build on your vision, call a member of the American Institute of Architects, AIA Architects, building on your vision.
If you expect your people to start thinking out of the box, they need to stop working in one. Hayworth, furniture for what's next.
Tonight on CNN Newsstand, expanded live coverage and in-depth reports on Hurricane Floyd as it slams the Bahamas and batters the Florida coastline. The latest on the damage, where the storm is headed next, and how to survive it. CNN Newsstand, tonight 10, 9 Central on CNN.
Mr. President, a political question, if that's allowed.
Sure.
What are your thoughts on the possibility of Pat Buchanan leaving the Republican Party and seeking the Reform Party nomination?
Well, as I said earlier, we were in New York this weekend for the U.S. Open Tennis, and I watched him on 2 programs. I think he made it very clear that he was going to leave the Republican Party. He said they were carbon copies of each other. He could no longer support the basic principles of the Republican Party. And I saw a poll there on the television that showed that I think George W. Bush was 19 points ahead of Al Gore without Pat in the race, but his lead dropped to 5 percentage points, I believe, with Buchanan in the race, and Buchanan got 16 percentage points. So it'll have a profound effect on the political scene if he should do it. He's always been such a loyal Republican. I don't yet know what his final decision would be, but I do know him a little bit. I know he's a pretty tough guy, and he's hard for anybody else to change his mind.
Are we looking at this too far ahead, do you think?
Well, it's changed. Things have changed so much since I ran. This time, 16 months ahead of the election, back in those early days in 1975, nobody even knew who I was. I would wander up and down the streets in little towns in Iowa, and nobody would recognize me at all. I couldn't even get a radio interview, much less get on television. And we had to, if we saw somebody with a scratch pad, we ran them down in the street to try to get them to interview me. So the whole thing has moved forward months, and of course then we didn't have the soft money. We were very tight on spending, and there was no negative advertising then. You know, I always referred to my opponents as my worthy opponent, my distinguished opponent. There was no concentration of tearing down the reputation of your opponents.
Hello, I'm Jimmy Carter, hello, I'm Jimmy Carter, and I want to be your president.
That's exactly it.
It got very famous. Rosalind, do you miss all of the trappings? Do you miss the White House?
I haven't had time. We've been so busy doing other things that I loved it when I was there, and I left with a lot of regrets. But our life has been so full since we left that we really haven't had time to miss Washington.
Do you ever think, both of you, of retirement? Real retirement?
Well, not really. We're preparing the Carter Center to carry on its good work after we are no longer able to work. But and we're already getting rid of some of the administrative burdens that we have formerly borne. But we'll retire, I think, when our health goes down and when we become mentally and physically incapacitated.
May that never happen. We'll see you in a couple of weeks, and thanks so much, and we appreciate your patience tonight.
Well, you did the right thing by covering the tragedy that might fall on people along the coast, Larry. Thank you.
And thank you
so
birthday
much.
Wishes.
Yeah, those were great.
President Jimmy Carter, former First Lady Rosalyn Carter. Stay tuned now for CNN Newsstand. They follow us every night. Stephen Frazier, Natalie Allen are in Atlanta, and they're going to be right on top of Hurricane Floyd. Don't go away. Thanks for joining us. See you tomorrow night. I'm Larry King. Good night.
Stuart Varney, Willow Bay. The Moneyline News Hour. Weeknight, 6:30 Eastern on CNN. You are what you know.
A&E's Biography. Step out of your life and into someone else's. 6 nights a week. They're the people you thought you knew. Biography, 8 Eastern, 9 Pacific, only on A&E.
Brought to you locally by Copperman.
Exceptional savings in every department. Right now, through September 31st, receive a $10 rebate on a 2-gallon purchase of Fuller O'Brien products. Lumberman's Building Centers, providing building solutions since 1895.
Digital pay-per-view. Right now, Oscar De La Hoya has one thing on his mind, being the first to beat Felix Trinidad. It's not enough to be the undefeated champion, because Trinidad is too. They're two warriors in peak condition, at the height of their power, and this is the ultimate showdown. De La Hoya versus Trinidad, live on pay-per-view, September 18th.
Call TCI and order De La Hoya versus Trinidad on digital pay-per-view.
TCI.
Movies. From television's boldest risk taker, Showtime, comes Hollywood's biggest hits of the year. Nicolas Cage, Gary Sinise.
The 14,000 eyewitnesses!
this is? Snake Eyes. Robert De Niro.
I never walk into a place I don't know how to walk out of.
Ronan. Jamie Lee Curtis. Halloween H2O.
Call TCI and order Showtime for your house today.
I love movies. Old classics, action films, romances. Watching movies is what I love about cable. Now with TCI Digital Cable, I get even more. More channels of HBO, Showtime, Stars, and Encore. Or new channels like Turner Classic Movies, the Independent Film Channel, and lots of pay-per-view. I like a good weepy romance. Or a comedy. No, a romantic comedy.
TCI Digital Cable. For more movies right through the cable you already have. Call now.